What's up, everybody? Hope you're having a good day or night or whenever it is that you're watching this. I know it's a Saturday night and a lot of other people are streaming live right now, so I'm not necessarily expecting a lot of people to be in here, but I thought I would just hop on and say what's up, hang out for a little bit. Simon, what's going on, man? How are you doing? Did I see you over on Bateman's stream or what? Wow, 3 people and 3 thumbs up already. Look at you guys. Baller. Love seeing that. Riley, how are you doing? Appreciate you asking straight out the gate. My back is doing pretty good. I was just thinking I'll probably only be on here for an hour or so tonight. I had a busy day with my daughters today. We went fishing and had a really adventurous day, and I'm feeling okay right now. But appreciate you asking. How's your shoulder feeling today? Ryan, how are you doing, man? Good to see you in here. Appreciate the commentary, guys. You were also on Smallmouth Crush tonight. Yeah, I was on both of those for a short period of time as well, Simon. So good to see you bouncing around. Appreciate you hanging out in here for a little bit, um, and for participating in the comments. The fishing was actually surprisingly good, Ryan. I went. So here's the rundown. I went with my daughters. I've got a 4-year-old and a 2-year-old, which is tough to go fishing first of all. But I figured what we would do is try to go to a local reservoir and fish for trout, and that's what we did. And the cool thing was, because of coronavirus, they don't have the places open to charge people entry to the reservoir, which ordinarily costs $10 a day. And I haven't gotten my annual pass yet, so today was just free for us to go, and that was cool. But it was pretty crowded, so ended up fishing for trout from the bank. It was really crowded. We were just fishing along a rocky bank, and like I said, fishing for trout. So Ron Holly in the house. Riley, package got delayed 2 days again, so it's going to send out Monday. That's all good. No big deal, Riley. I don't mind. Riley got the okay to do some heavy lifting at work. Got to be careful, though. Okay? So, guys, the magic bait today, I still have it tied on upstairs and in the car, but here's a similar version. I was throwing a rainbow trout pattern of this bait. This right here is the Dynamic Lures HD trout. Super, super killer jerk bait. It's a countdown jerk bait, and it's got really good action. So this was made here in Colorado, is designed for river and stream fishing in current, and it's got great action on it, and you can fish it anywhere, and it'll catch trout like you would not believe. So I throw that one a lot, and we did throw it and caught a handful of fish on it. And then I also caught 2 fish on a couple of trout on the Ned rig, which I suspected I would be able to on this color right here. This is called Laguna Shrimp. It is pink on one side and like a clear with a lot of gold flake on both sides to it, and it's wicked. So this is the TRD Ticklers from Z-Man. Had it rigged on a 1/16 ounce red head finesse shrooms jig head from Z-Man. So I honestly tied those 2 baits on, brought those 2 rods out with me. I left a bait casting rod with a jerk bait setup on it in the car, and just brought those two ultralight setups. I was throwing the Ned rig on an 8-foot ultralight, just bombing it out as far as I could, and I was throwing the jerk bait on a 5.5-foot ultralight. So quite a bit of a difference there. Those are the only ultralight rods that I've got, and was able to make pretty good casts out there, and the fish were hitting pretty good in the middle of the day. And despite it being super pressured and there being a ton of people out on the water, so we literally had like, you know, 6 feet on either side of us before there was the next person, and everybody was just casting straight out. We weren't covering water, moving up and down the bank, and still managed to catch like a half a dozen or so trout in a matter of just an hour or two. So that was really cool, and brought a couple home. And it was the first time that I've actually done a sort of catch and cook when it comes to trout, and that was pretty wild for me. So I've got one still sitting in the fridge, and the first one I kind of butchered, but managed to salvage for the most part. So ended up cooking those up for my daughters after dinner time. My wife was a little bit weirded out, grossed out, didn't want to eat the trout until she did try it and then liked it. But we had one of the trout. Super Mexican, what's up, dude? Good to see you in here. I cooked the fish, just I filleted it and took it off the skin, and so just had it in small kind of nugget-sized chunks. Threw that in breadcrumbs and then in an egg and milk mix, and then back in the batter, and then fried it just really in butter more than anything else, and then threw some salt and pepper on there. And so very basic and very delicious. So I would love your recipe, man. Send me an email when we get off here. hooksetsarefree18@gmail.com. Shoot me that recipe, man. I'd love it. Because I've got three other trout, three other trout. I have one other trout, like 3 fillets in the fridge upstairs that I'm not sure whether to throw in the freezer or what. So yeah, Darren, it was delicious, man. Jack, good to see you in here, man. You say I'm 3D printing a snake fishing lure right now. You want one? Dude, 3D, that's pretty sweet. 3D printing lures, good for you, man. I wonder how you're doing that. Do you have a 3D printer? Or how'd you figure that out? Tutang, how you doing? Good to see you in here. Happy Saturday. Or is it Sunday morning to you? I'm not sure. So anyway, yeah, we had a productive day on the water. A fun time out with the girls. Caught a couple fish. Went back to the car. Had a little picnic in the trunk of our car, and then went. We lathered up with some sunscreen and went back out on a walk. Found another spot and caught another handful of fish. So had a super fun time. Glad that the girls tolerated it, because it was during the middle of the day. We are pretty diligent about still doing nap time for our girls. Our 4-year-old is just in part-time preschool right now. So Super Mexican. Yeah, I mean, Jack, tell us more about your snake, dude. You said you're so grateful helping you out. What do you mean? Are you wanting us to buy your 3D printed lures, or what are you saying? I'd love to see some pictures, man, but not so sure I'm interested in a snake lure in the first place. So who knows? Darren says, I'd love to talk about like an offer, but anyone can shoot me an email. Interesting. Darren might be interested. Wait. Ryan said, I usually bake my rainbows, some maple syrup and soy sauce. Interesting. And Super Mexican said, grab some vegetable oils and put it on a pan for 10 minutes. Wait. Whole fish, cut 3 slices on each. That is simple. Interesting. Appreciate you guys' suggestions. I don't know how I skipped over those comments, but kind of happens a little too easily. Riley says, Doc fits well. Thanks for saying that. Love people sending baits. Like to try them, whoever needs them. They weren't the baits that we talked about. Jack, you sending us free baits, bro? What are you talking about? That's pretty crazy, man. Anyway, we can definitely talk about it, but I think it's awesome that you've got a 3D printer, and it might be worth us talking about ideas of what you could make because, what do you think is the most practical thing to do, Jack? Is it to make an actual lure or to make a mold with your 3D printer? Because the wheels get turning in my brain about what we could do with a 3D printer for fishing gear. And anyway, that's awesome that you have a 3D printer. So good for you, man. So yeah, Jack, if you're offering them free, I'll take one, bro. I think you texted me today too, and I didn't respond. So I apologize to you, Jack, for not getting back to you. I think you sent me pictures of those lipless crankbaits, didn't you? Which are the baits that I was wanting Riley to send me. So anyway, yeah, hang on to those for me. Darren says if anyone would want to think about this because I melt plastic of old torn up lures and molds I created myself in my garage, but would be willing to buy some of the hell. Sorry. My dog is walking around and sketching me out with the noise that she's making upstairs. Yeah, Jack, if you could send us some pictures somehow. Jack, can you take down everybody's emails right now? And then get a group email going on? There's my email address. Oh, heck yeah. All right, Jack, take down those emails. Send an email right now to everybody. And throw a photo of your snake lure on there. We'd love to see it, man. Yeah, no rush. I mean, you don't have to do it literally this minute. Like, I'm not going to check it while I'm on here. Probably won't check it tonight, so no big deal. Darren says, and of course I'll share some baits with all you lovely folks. Yeah, guys, let's show some baits right now. Gosh, my toad box is pretty much overflowing right now and desperate to be unloaded, needs to be thrown. So let's talk about some top waters per Riley's request. Riley, you did want to talk about Topwater, right? Yeah, pop off those emails, guys. Holy crap. I feel like I need to write these down too. Which I'm sorry to be distracted while I'm streaming, guys, but I think it's awesome that you guys are all sharing these emails real quick. And I've got half of them already. I know that. I've exchanged messages with you guys offline. We've got Ryan. Brandon Finsterwald, going to try the bronze eye frog tomorrow? Absolutely. Good for you, man. Remind me, Brandon, whereabouts do you live, man? I'm not throwing a frog quite yet, but I'm thinking about getting it going soon. And generally speaking, I just need to start throwing a topwater. See if the fish are going to come up for it. There were a ton of fish rising today at the reservoir, mostly trout, but I'm sure that some of them were bass as well. Some of them were actually really big fish, but were outside of casting distance for me. So all right. So I think I've got like 5 or 6 people's emails. Did I get Darren's? Yo, Brandon, whereabouts do you live, man? Throwing that frog tomorrow. Oh, I did already put Darren's email in. Okay, guys. Let's do this. Gonna start saving up plastics that I throw away. Yeah. No, it's not a bad idea, especially if you use colors that are, solid all the way through, right? Unfortunately, a lot of the plastics that I use are two-toned, so not necessarily ideal for remelting. It's supposed to be raining here Wednesday, so seating for me, nice. Oh, there's Jack's email. Whoa, you guys are popping off. That's the thing, is I love that you guys chat with each other and are engaged, but sometimes I can't keep up with you guys, and I don't know what it is that you're even talking about over here. So it's hard to keep up. So Darren's a plastic maker. Is that what's up? I'm sure you can cut them on the laminate line, Dick. That's just a little bit of a hassle, in my opinion, especially if the bait's already kind of torn up. But I'm sure you could do that. Yeah, you're right about that, man. Making your own soft plastics, it's a cool thing in general, but I think there's not enough innovation when it comes to the molds that are available to the general public. I think the baits that you can make and pour yourself are pretty meh, in my opinion. That's just me. So anyway, let's talk about some topwaters. Molds are like $30. Yeah. So, nice. Darren makes his own molds. Tell us about that, Darren. How do you make your own molds? What kind of stuff do you use? And how exactly does that work? You use existing soft plastic baits and pour stuff around it, or how exactly does that work if you're making your own molds? All right, guys. So there's a couple baits I did not bring down here that are not in the box right now, but we're going to talk about walking baits. We're going to talk about poppers. We're going to talk about prop baits and a little bit about wake baits before we move on to whopper ploppers and buzz baits and frogs. But there's Riley's email. Look at everybody wheeling and dealing. Emails popping off. I love it. All right, I think I got most, if not all, the emails that people have left in the comments so far. 6 of you plus me, if I'm not mistaken. All right, so basically, you know, I want to talk about top waters in the springtime. Darren says there's 2 types of molds I make, silicone, and one's like what you need to inject out of plaster. I use clay that you can harden in the oven and place it in like an area, then pour silicone around. Interesting. Well, good for you, man. I mean, that's pretty cool that you do that. Dick, no worries, man. Tight lines to you as well. You have a good rest of your night. We're going to talk about walking baits first. And in general, there's a few things that you need to factor in before throwing a topwater in the springtime. You know, like water temperature is the main thing. Once water temps are, I'd say, 60 degrees and higher, once fish are actually up on beds or right around that time where the spawn is happening, now then fish become a little bit more territorial. So up shallow, you can get them with the walking bait for sure, and also when they're tight to cover. So a walking bait is a good bait because you can move it slowly and get it to stay in place. Some baits do that better than others, but you can also use it as a way to cover water fairly well and make a decent ruckus. So the most classic is the old head-in Super Spook, and this right here is the saltwater version of the Super Spook. I don't quite know what makes the internals different about this bait. I think it might just be a little bit more durable, maybe thicker walls. Don't quote me on that. I really don't know what makes the saltwater Super Spook different, other than the terminal on it, of course, which I've swapped out for owner ST36 hooks. And this is the OG cigar style walking bait. 5 inches long, I believe. Something 3/4 of an ounce, roughly. Wow, we're trading numbers here too, guys, huh? You guys are crazy. Wheeling and dealing. Yeah, you got to go to Cabela's. Who doesn't? That would be cool, Darren. You should make your own website. Well, you could still sell them too, man. Why not? Right? I mean, I'm sure people would show some interest pretty quickly. Okay, just a slight variation. Um, this is a little bit of a gimmicky bait. This is the Livingston Lures Walking Boss. Do you guys know about the Livingston Lures? If you listen here, if I can engage it, probably won't be able to. Not right now. But Livingston Lures has these chirping baits. So when the hooks get wet, there's an electronic noise inside the bait that chirps. And you can change the noise in some of these baits. This one makes 3 different noises. So it will imitate different styles of bait fish or more distressed bait fish. Whatever. I don't even know what all 3 calls are. It does have a feathered treble on the back, which does not come standard like on the Super Spook. And then this guy's got a little bit of a cupped face. So interesting bait here with the Walking Boss 2 by Livingston. I don't love a lot of Livingston Lures baits, but I do throw that bait some. And as you notice, both of those baits were in the bone color. And I do like to throw bone a lot just as an all-around color that kind of works in all light conditions. So I like to use it. Yo. Then very similar shape bait as that. As you can see, a little bit of a cupped face here. This is the Strike King KVD Sexy Dog. This in the natural shad color. It's got a much different sound. It's got rattles in the main chamber and then kind of higher pitched glass BBs up in the tail. So you get that very high pitched noise out of the Sexy Dog. And that's more of a natural color. I would throw that in the middle of the day. And then a couple others that I really like that are a little bit higher end are the Lucky Craft Gunfish. This is the 115 size, I believe. Not positive, but I'm pretty sure. And this is a special color called the Skeet's Magic. Skeet Reese. It's a chartreuse bottom and a silver top, which is weird because it's actually the opposite of what I would normally do. Like this one, for example, this is the other one that I do like to throw. This is the River to Sea Rover in the 128 size. So it's somewhat significantly bigger than that Gunfish 115. But it's got chartreuse on top and more of a silvery belly to it. And that, in my opinion, is a little bit more natural to the fish who are looking at it from below and see this with that red cupped face, more of just a silver bait fishy belly, that chartreuse feathered treble, and then I get to see the chartreuse top as it's working back to me. I can see the bait a lot better in low light conditions. So that's why I like throwing chartreuse walking baits. But this Skeet's Magic color is kind of reversed. So this is more of like a smallmouth color, where you're trying to get them to react on the chartreuse color itself. So anyway, the gunfish has a kind of a very middle of the road noise and action to it. This is an underrated bait that you can sometimes find on sale for a really good deal. So walking baits worked really slowly during the springtime are probably where I start first. If I'm on smaller bodies of water, fishing like really small ponds, for example, I will sometimes downsize. I like throwing the Sexy Dog Junior by Strike King, or I'll throw the Super Spook Junior in a couple of different colors. Really like the Super Spook Junior. Bite size, but 2 treble hooks on those baits. And in general, I'm a 3 treble hook type of guy whenever possible. If there's a bait that is a 2 hook version versus 3, I'm always going to go with the 3 hook version. So after walking baits, I'm probably going with popping baits. There are a few favorites that I have, and to be honest, the old school, just Rebel Pop R has definitely been my most productive over the years. You know, it is like the OG, right? And it's got that obnoxiously loud and high pitch sound to it. Really, really effective bait. And the cool thing is it comes in a lot of different versions, like this one here. Golly, I don't even know what's quite different about that one, but this one here is called the Super Pop R, and it's got like a foil finish on the inside, and it's much bigger in size than the standard Pop R. And they also make a teeny tiny version, a tiny Pop R. So really like the Rebel ones. And then stepping outside of Rebel, a couple that I like but don't actually have as much confidence in or throw as frequently are the Livingston Lures popper. I think there's something unique about that sound technology in a bait that's not moving as quickly, right? So if it's sitting still but just chirping, and a fish is nosing on it, coming up, you know, following the bait, tracking it, waiting to attack, and the bait sits still and is making noise, I think the fish are more likely to attack while the bait is sitting there. So really like the popping, splashing action out of this guy, and it walks quite well. This is a Storm Arashi cover pop. It's a pretty big popper though, so I don't throw it all that often. I really actually like to throw the Rapala X-Rap, what do they call it? The X-Rap Pop 7. I've got this in a few sizes, and it's shaped just a little bit differently than most. It sits flat really well because of the shape to its body, and it's a sleeper for sure. You can cast this thing a mile. You can walk it really well in place. It's got really good finishes like all the X-Rap baits have. This thing will last forever. Hooks on it are high quality. I mean, it's a little bit pricey. I think like $10 a bait, but Here's a Livingston popper that I do like. This is the smaller one. Golly, I wish I knew what these ones were called, but we don't need to talk about it. This one is a silent popper. There's no rattle in it. So the only noise that it makes is that chirping sound. And this has a very natural profile, more subtle action to it. And I've had a lot of luck on that one specifically. But poppers, I really only throw like in with really slick water, right? I will throw a walking bait when I see fish blowing up on the surface. So if you see bait fish on the surface, we said water temperature is kind of the main thing that gets a top water bite going once the water is in the 60s, but it's more once bait fish are present. So once you see bait fish in the shallows and then you see fish blowing up on that bait, it's time to go to a top water, and something like a walking bait is super appropriate in that situation. It's going to keep the bait in place, make a lot of commotion, and draw attention to that area and that bait specifically when you're trying to single out one out of a bunch. So a popper is for when you really want to slow down. You might be fishing closer to high percentage areas. Obviously, you're not covering water with a popper. And yeah, you're right. It's the walk and pop. You're right, Darlene. Thank you very much for that. You're right. Now, I don't know the difference between these two other than size, right? I showed you that I've got two Livingston poppers, and I said I don't have as much confidence in the bigger one, and a lot of it I think has to do with size. So usually when I'm fishing a popper, I'm going for a smaller presentation, smaller profile, less intimidating, and yeah, I want something just a little bit smaller. So I throw my big poppers a lot less. Darren, peace out, man. You have a great rest of your night. Appreciate it. All right, so yeah, I'll throw a popper when it's really slick water, and I'll throw a walking bait when bait fish are being blown up on. Those are kind of the most obvious situations. I do also like to throw prop baits occasionally. This is a bait that I want to get more and more comfortable with this year, but this is the Rapala X-Rap prop. It's got blades on the front and the back of the bait that spin in opposite directions. And yes, I do have a blade on the treble hook here as well, but that's a different story, different situation altogether. And I haven't had a chance to see just how it affects the buoyancy of this bait and whether or not I'm going to leave it on here. So I just got so excited when I got these VMC hybrid bladed trebles that I started putting them on literally everything. So no problem, Jack. You have a good rest of your night, man. Thank you so much for hanging out. William Plunkett in the building. How are you doing? Russ Dennis, can't wait to hit the top water come Wednesday. Yeah, that sounds awesome. Good for you, man. What are you going to be throwing, Russ? What kind of top water are you looking to throw? So I'll throw a prop bait when it is super finessey. And and when I'm coming by specific pieces of cover, so laydowns and stumps and shallow rocky banks specifically, I'll throw prop baits, and that translates over to whopper ploppers as well. But I like prop baits, but don't throw them quite as much. You know, the wake bait is one that doesn't get talked about very much, and this is a bait that I'm really looking forward to throwing this year. Didn't get to throw it last year. It was new last year at ICAST. This is the Strike King KVD 2.5 wake, and I bought this in a few different colors. Listen to that. No, BJ, no one's heard from Ray. I don't know what's going on. I think he was on at the beginning of the stream last night, but then not for the rest of the stream, and then not tonight. So I don't know what's going on. But that's a good question, man. And yeah, there's 13 people in here right now. Only 10 thumbs up, guys. Do me a quick solid and hit that thumbs up button if you haven't already, okay? So wake baits are awesome when you can't get them to come up and eat a walking bait. You know, it is a moving presentation more so than a popper. So I'll throw a wake bait when I'm trying to cover a little bit more water and don't necessarily know where the fish are. And a wake bait excels in really shallow water, especially in grassy situations. So really grassy ponds, a wake bait can be killer. And so along those same lines is like a rat bait. A rat is a hybrid style lure that really falls into a couple of categories, right? It's a topwater, it's a wake bait, it's a swim bait, depending on how you fish it. So this thing will float when you throw it out there and let it sit. You can work it very slowly. Some of these baits, like the Savage Gear, has a line tie up here and a line tie down here. So literally different actions. If you tie it up on the nose, the thing's going to wake on the surface. It's going to be much more of a top water. And if you tie down here on the bill, it's going to swim and be more of a subsurface wake bait slash crankbait, super shallow diving crankbait. The Spro BBZ1 rat only has one line tie on it, but similarly can be worked either way. You know, you fish it slow and it's going to stay right up on the surface. You fish it fast and it's going to dive maybe 6 inches, max a foot. But it's super buoyant. If you kill it, it's going to come up to the surface really fast. So rat baits are especially effective at nighttime. And I will just say I absolutely slayed some fish last summer on these rat baits, like in the middle of the night at this one pond. I went back to the same pond like 2 or 3 nights a week for like 2 months, just ripping these fish. Not on the same baits, but those rat baits were killing it. So anyway, that's this box. Super Mexican, what's the difference between a square bill compared to a crankbait? A square bill is a crankbait. Um, it is just a shallow diving crankbait that has a square bill on it, and quite literally, that square bill is what gives it its action. So this is not a square bill. This is the wake bait, but essentially they took the bill of a normal square bill and bent it shallower. So I can pull out a 1.5 square bill for you to see, but it's just that the bill shape is square, which means when it deflects with something, it's more likely um, to deflect off to the side. It's not going to roll as much as a normal crankbait would that has a round bill. So a square bill crankbait is considered kind of the 4x4, the Jeep of crankbaits, if you will. It deflects much better off of cover. You can run it through wood and other types of cover a lot better than other crankbaits. So a square bill is typically going to run 3 to 5 feet deep, but these days they make deep diving um, and a wide variety of different types of square bills where you can get them where they're made of different materials and they dive different depths. But in general, a square bill crankbait is a shallow diving, somewhat fat body, wide-ish wobbling crankbait, if that makes sense. Hope that answers your question, Matt. Justin, what would you use in 70-degree water if the bass were in the weeds right next to you on a dock? I would throw a jig or a Texas rig. I don't know why that jogs my memory from one time last year. Same exact thing happened. I was out on a floating dock at a pond, and I was shooting a frog up into the slop, and then I turned around and could see a bass that saw me, and it turned around and went right under the dock, where like the walkway that I'd come out on, and and I was like, oh man, what do I do? And I grabbed my frog and just tried working it along the side of the dock to try and get him to come blow up on it. But I think because I'd spooked the fish and he knew I was there, he wasn't coming to get it. So I just reached around. I had a jig sitting there, the Z-Man micro jig with like a TRD Craws on there, and it was just enough weight to go through that top layer of grass, but to get that fish's attention as it was dropping down, and it didn't think it was me. So I think something like a jig um, is probably your best bet, but a Texas rig is going to slither through the grass much better than most jigs will. So that's what I would throw first, Justin. But yeah, that can be a little bit tricky and frustrating when you see them there, but can't get them. I also recently caught some fish in in a body of water that had really weedy, uh, super grassy, shallow water. Like I think normally the water is some 3 to 5 feet deep, but the grass had grown almost to the surface. Like I was working with somewhere between 3 and 12 inches most of the time. Really skinny water. So I threw up a weightless fluke, uh, weightless Texas rig, had it Texposed on like a 4/0 hook, and just a Zoom Super fluke in the sungill color, and just fished it like a jerk bait. let it sink down to where it's sitting on top of the grass, and then just reel up the slack and twitch, 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 and yeah, that tighten up. Got dropped 2 fish on it. And yeah, so I would consider something, weightless soft plastic, either like a trick worm or a fluke, or a jig or a Texas rig. But yeah, let's move on and talk about whopper ploppers and buzz baits. And honestly, I would love to be schooled on this sometime. Russ Dennis, I've caught some decent fish on the Recon. Sorry, I don't know what the Recon is, bro. I feel like I should. Where's my white plopper? I think I had it tied on recently. All right. Whoa, Super Mexican. Interesting. I did not know that. What? Riley, you don't have any Chapos yet? I just ordered one in my discount tackle monthly purchase that I've got coming in. It's in the mail right now. I'll have it next week. I got the 120 size in the Ghost Bluegill. Looks like an awesome color. Should be super cool. Okay, Russ Dennis, I thought it was the Recon. It's a crankbait. All right, Justin. See you later, man. Have a good rest of your night. Appreciate you stopping by. See you in the next one, bro. All right, guys. So whopper ploppers and buzz baits. If anybody can tell me where you can really throw a buzz bait that you can't throw a whopper plopper, I'd love to know, because I haven't had a lot of success in throwing a buzz bait like up in weedy stuff, and I know that technically that's the main difference, right? Riley says, no, I was talking about you, gosh darn it. Got the same one for you going in the mail. That was a surprise. No way! Riley, that's hilarious. Okay, you have 10 Chapos. That makes sense. Riley, that's hilarious if that's the same one that you have. Well, we will see. If that's the case, then I will maybe either give away Super Mexican. No worries, man. You have a good rest of your night. Thank you for hanging out. I know it's late for a lot of you guys, so we're not going to talk so much longer. Just want to flash some Topwater baits. Appreciate you guys hanging out. Riley says, to be honest, how do you want to throw a buzz bait in the more deeper waters, not around the trees, like in the middle? That's where you get the white. What? I'm not quite sure what you're saying, Riley. You're throwing a buzz bait in deeper water than a plopper? All right, so there are two main buzz baits that I like to throw, and there are a million types that you can, right? So Russ says open water next to the slop with the buzzbait. Um, yeah, but why can't you throw the whopper plopper there too, man? I mean, what's the advantage to throwing the buzzbait there? Um, yeah, and I'm just saying, I would love to be schooled because, to be honest, I guess when you look at the buzzbait, sure, the hooks are oriented such that you could run over, a piece of wood or something like that. You can, it's more snagless in that it's less likely to catch on something, whereas a whopper plopper has two treble hooks on it and is quite likely to grab onto wood or anything that it gets close to. But like throwing this around slop, I I find that the blade of a buzzbait gets fouled up just as easily as the front or the back of a whopper plopper. So anyway, that's just me. Russ says slower on the plopper. Okay, there's the main difference, and thank you, Russ, for just bringing that to my attention. It has mostly to do with retrieve speed, and over the years, companies have done a number of things to try and slow retrieve speed. From the size of the blades to the number of the blades to other materials being on the wires. Like I've got a buzzbait upstairs from Greenfish Tackle that has floats on it. So it's actually a buzzbait that you can pause and it won't sink. So, there's been evolutions over the years in terms of what people have thought about doing to buzzbaits to make them easier to slow down and to even pause, because with a buzzbait you cast it out there and this hunk of metal, you've got a lead weight, you've got wire, and you've got a metal blade. This thing wants to sink right away, and so the second it hits the water you have to start your retrieve. And so companies like this is the Cavatron buzzbait. It's got holes in the blade, and this I think is a 1/4 ounce buzzbait, so it's super lightweight. This thing planes very easily, and you can reel it very slowly, which makes it unique. This guy is the War Eagle Buzzin' Toad, which is a skirtless buzzbait. So instead of having a skirt as the attractor, like a spinner bait on a buzzbait, you're usually not going to throw a trailer. Instead, you're going to throw a trailer hook on the back of the hook itself the majority of the time to increase your hookup ratio, because a lot of times you're getting fish swiping at the bait because of the commotion. So instead of having them short striking the back of a bait, you use a hook. Now, sometimes you remove the skirt and throw a soft plastic on the back, like a frog or a swim bait. So a soft plastic toad has become a really popular thing to do. Here I've replaced the one that it came with a striking rage toad. And like I showed you guys the other night, this is one that I actually put the Queen Tackle switchblade on there. I have no idea if this is going to work or not, but when I'm holding it here, it acts like it might work. Like I said, when I put these blades on, like the Tokyo rig, for example, that did not work. So you're right, Darlene. The Cavatron blades with the bubbles, or with the holes, make an awesome bubble trail. The Cavatron buzz baits are good ones for sure. So those are one of the main ones that I throw. But with a buzz bait, you got to start the retrieve immediately, even if it's a lightweight buzz bait, even if it's got double blades and whatever other bells and whistles it might have, that thing is going to sink. Okay, so in comes the Whopper Plopper. Mr. I don't sink. The Whopper Plopper is a buzz bait that floats and is kind of dummy proof. Instead of having a blade in the front, it's got a spinning tail, right? And it makes quite a commotion. They make them in rattling and silent versions, and they now have them in 4 different sizes. So, ranging from this huge, well, they do have them in 5 sizes, I guess. I mean, they have a size even bigger than this. That is a true muskie bait. It's meant to target muskie, not bass. But this 130 size, so it's 5.5 inches, 5.25, something like that. And you can see this one's actually bent. Caught some fish on this, and the wire inside is a little bit goofed up. I'm not sure if this will run true or not, but the 130 size weighs quite a bit. You know, it's like 1.5 ounces. And so it takes a heavier rod for sure to load up a 130 size Whopper Plopper, but a 110 that weighs more like 1 ounce can be thrown on a much wider variety of gear. And then the smaller sizes, the 90 and the 75, are both just right around 1/2 ounce and much more manageable on spinning or casting gear. You can throw that on kind of whatever. But yeah, you're going to throw some of these on different gear, right? So I like to throw all of them, but if I could only have one, it would be the 110. This is kind of my do-it-all size. I think it makes the most amount of commotion, but is still the most approachable in-between size. It's got a big profile, like the 130 has, but it's not so heavy like the 130. And I like the 75 because it's just as heavy as, or it's heavier than the 90 actually, but it has quite a bit more action. It's a lot fatter than the 90 is. I mean, look at this 90. The 75 is way fatter. And so it plops like twice as loud. And so the 75 and the 90 cost about the same price. I would go with the 75 all day long. And it's also got that more sophisticated tail we've talked about before that does not foul up nearly as easily. So the Whopper Plopper is a bait that can be fished in a number of different ways. So you throw it out there and you have the luxury of letting it sit and giving the fish time to settle down. If you spooked them and they might come back to where they were, you can wait 10 seconds before you start retrieving the bait. And then when you do start retrieving the bait, you can work it so many different ways. And you notice the second that you start fishing it that it's it's speed sensitive, but it doesn't blow out. So if you fish it slower, it has a more methodical plop, 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 plop. You fish it faster, it has more of that. And in between, right, it gets louder. There's kind of like at a 3/4 speed, it is probably its loudest. As you get going faster and faster, then it just turns into more like a droney, like a different type of sound, not as aggressive of the pop, 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 pop. And yeah, it's a really cool bait, and you don't have to fish it on a straight retrieve, right? Because when you kill it, it will stay exactly where it is. And if there's fish following it, they might just try to kill it when you do. So that's something to keep in mind when fishing a whopper plopper, is to stop it during the retrieve, especially if you're coming by a piece of cover in the middle of your retrieve, is to stop the bait and then start it again. I had a remarkable amount of my strikes last year in that exact way. I'd cast the bait out there, let it sit, and then start retrieving it. And right as it's coming by a piece of cover, kill it for about a second or two, and then start it back up. Just enough time to make the fish hesitate. The ones who are watching it and thinking about it, then the bait stops and they wonder, oh, what do I do? What do I do? And the bait starts back up and they go after it. So really powerful lure, the whopper plopper. Like it quite a lot. And next to the chatterbait, the whopper plopper was probably my most used lure last summer. And so I look forward to trying, the Berkeley Chapo and the Savage Gear, the Smash Tail Minnow this year, just comparing them to the whopper plopper. But the whopper plopper is a killer bait for sure. Yeah, BJ, throwing those emails in there. Appreciate you doing that. I had already written everybody's down. I already knew that was your email, but I'll put it on this list that I've got with 6 or 7 other ones already. All right, so next up are frogs, and generally speaking, you're going to throw frogs when you've got much more sketchy stuff that you're fishing around. So most people would assume and associate frog fishing with slop, and I still do a lot of the time, right? It's not often until I see slop that I think, oh gosh, I really need to be throwing a frog right now. But there are a lot of times that you can and should throw a frog that are not necessarily just in sloppy situations. So the Booyah Pad Crasher is probably one of the most popular budget-friendly frogs on the market. This thing I think sells for $6 a frog, and is really well made. So I like the hooks on it. I like how the hooks rest on the body. I like the material of the frog and how collapsible it is. As you can see, I've trimmed the legs here. I like to have the legs be just as long as the body. So that's what I'll do. With a new frog, I will flip it over, pull those legs down, and I will trim them at the length of the body. And there you go. That's kind of how long I like to have a frog's legs in general. Sometimes I will alter that just a little bit, but there are a lot of types of frogs on the market. This is a popping frog, and here's a Terminator popping frog. Here's a Booyah. So just like you would a popper, you can fish a frog with more of a spitting action if you're fishing it, especially in more open water situations. But some people find that one bait will walk better than the other, and so you throw different frogs for different reasons. And of course, you can get into whopper plopper style frogs that have spinning tails on them, right? The Teckle sprinkler frog and the Booyah toad runner are the two main examples of that bait. I will say I don't love the hooks on the toad runner. That has been a gripe of mine. Just a little bit of a frustration in that they don't rest very well where they should on the frog, where they're designed to sit. So you kind of have to bend the hooks if you don't want to have this incredible amount of gap. You really can't fish it in slop, which is annoying because it's like if I'm in and around open water, I'm probably throwing a whopper plopper instead of a frog like this, right? This guy doesn't have a ton of bite. The hooks are not pointed up. The hookup ratio on the Booyah Toad Runner is okay. You have to make a couple modifications to it that then that change the frog, right? You bend the hooks up a little bit, and then all of a sudden they're not sitting on the frog anymore. And this thing is, it will pick up weeds like you wouldn't believe. So, different frogs for different things. I had a lot of luck. Well, not a lot of luck. I had some good luck on the Lunker Hunt prop frog last year. I actually really kind of like this guy. Its legs spin. As you work the bait, and so you can swim it, or you can just kind of work it like you would a frog, and those legs will just make a little bit of a commotion. And the cool thing is, there is a stinger hook in between these prop legs, so the legs will still turn, but when a fish comes to eat it, even if they miss the frog with the double hooks, which, by the way, is a pretty good frog, really collapsible, good hooks on here. But if they miss the frog, don't quite get it, this stinger hook on the back of here is totally legit. So, caught a lot of fish on this guy, and quite like it, to be honest. One that I have that I haven't had quite as much luck on is the prop fish, right? This guy just has a prop tail like a whopper plopper, but it's a frog body. Good hooks, good collapsibility. In theory, you shouldn't have any issues with this thing, but I just haven't gotten a lot of bites on it. I haven't put a lot of time into it. Maybe I'm not confident enough in it in the first place to be throwing it. So, Ron Holly says sprinkler frog. Yeah, I like the sprinkler frog, but I don't love it. I similar problem as what I mentioned with the toad runner. I've had to make some adjustments to the hooks on this thing. Like, look at that. You can just see that gap between the hook and the body. I don't love that. The thing doesn't want to rest. Whereas this one actually does. It sits pretty flush there. Like I don't really have any issues with that. So it varies from bait to bait, um, and that kind of bothers me. So if you're spending $15 on a frog, you kind of hope that it's well made, and consistently made. But that's just me. Darlene says the bronzeye is number one, and the gavacho. Yeah, gavacho's on my list of frogs to get, along with that the big gabbit from Megabass for sure. There's a bunch of frogs that I don't have that are more of those high-end frogs. I did get one on a good deal recently, but I don't know where it is. Here it is. This is the evergreen. This is the shower blows version of a frog. So look at that face, cupped face. This thing apparently walks like the evergreen shower blows walking bait does. So pretty excited to have that frog. There's a couple of others. It reminds me that tail of like the Depths Slither K and some other ones, or maybe the Buster K. Maybe both of those have that tail. I don't know. But the Gavacho I hear is legit for sure. And yeah, that Spro, you know, I do really like the Spro Bronzeye popping frog for sure. But I found that the plastic is just a little bit firm for my liking. The hookup ratio is just a little bit weaker in my opinion, stiffer plastic. But anyway, I like that frog for the most part, and I thought I had some of the regular version, but who cares right now? Let's move on. Regular frogs you can work kind of anywhere. Like I said, the cool thing about frogs is you ought to fish them in places that you wouldn't normally think. So, for example, you see an overhanging tree on the bank that would be really hard to get up and under. Or you see, a lay down or something that's got a lot of gnarly stuff around it. You can throw a frog way up in or past the shite and then drag it into the strike zone without fear of it hanging up. So a frog is actually a really sneaky bait that'll work its way through a lot of stuff, and you can just put it in the sketchiest of places, get bites, and then drag the fish out. I mean, you're going to fish a frog on the heaviest of gear, 65-pound braid, and a super heavy rod. So Matt's fishing mission. What's up, dude? You say, wow, dude, I like that frog. The tail is definitely going to help bring fish up to bite. Yeah. Yeah. This is one of those baits that, you kind of have confidence in from the second that you see it and know what it's capable of. Okay, and so then kind of last thing to address are really toads, right? I mean, I mentioned them when talking about the buzzbait, but soft plastic toads are a really cool way to fish a frog style presentation because of their versatility too. You can fish them like a frog, but of course they're going to be more like a buzzbait, right? You're going to rig this on a weedless, usually a weighted swim bait hook, but depending on the bait, If it's one like this from Kitech, this is the noisy flapper. Okay. Now let's say you're throwing at nighttime. You take this black and red one, and this bait weighs over a half ounce, close to 3/4 of an ounce by itself. So it really doesn't need any added weight. It doesn't need any help to stay keeled. So it also has differing densities of plastic inside the bait. So it will naturally flip so that, because one side is more buoyant than the other. So when it hits, it will naturally roll to be properly, um, I'm not using my words right now, but anyway, because this bait is so heavy, you can rig it on a screw lock weightless hook like that just fine, and that'll work. But as you can see, like, this is a 4/0 hook. Maybe it's a 3/0, but it doesn't cover much ground. You really need a 5/0 hook with most of these toads. So that's something to keep in mind, is that you need a big hook, and most of them you're going to rig weedless, and you're going to expose it. So again, you need heavier gear to throw a toad, but what I like about them is you can throw it on the back of a chatterbait. You can throw it on the back of a jig or a Texas rig or a Tokyo rig. A frog, or a toad rather, does not just have to be fished on the surface. You can fish this bait in a lot of different ways, but on the surface, it makes a great weedless buzzbait. So, where you couldn't get the buzzbait up, and you're staying on the edges of the crap, you can throw a toad right up in there and get them truly on the edges. So you got a little bit of an advantage with the toad, and if you fish ponds, having a 1-2 punch of a a soft plastic toad and a hollow body frog is an awesome 1-2 punch to have, right? When you think about the other topwater baits that we've been talking about tonight, we've got treble hooks on most of them, right? Walking baits and poppers and whopper ploppers all have treble hooks. And so if you're fishing super weedy stuff, you can't really work any of those baits effectively. Same with a buzz bait, a little bit tricky. So I think a frog and a toad can make a pretty awesome 1-2 punch. But yeah, it's for another conversation. So anyway, guys, that mostly wraps up what I wanted to address this evening. There's a lot more that we could talk about, but I don't really want to keep blabbing, and I haven't been engaging with you guys enough, and I feel a little bit weird when I'm just kind of rifling through a million baits like this. So I apologize, guys. Let me try and catch up on some of these comments and see if you guys are even saying anything. Maybe you guys are dead silent right now. There's only 6 people in here right now. Matt says I went frogging with the Lunker Hunt Pocket Frog, Pure Fire. Is that the tiny one? I'm pretty sure it's the one with the legs that kind of pulse. And I have one of the regular Lunker Hunt frogs. But the Pocket Frog, is that a little guy? You say I've never fished a toad soft plastic. Got to add that to my list. Yeah, man, for sure. I would look at either one of the Strike King Rage Tail Rage Toad or the Kitech Noisy Flapper. Both of those are really well made. The Kitech is not as durable as the Rage Toad, but it's a little bit higher quality. The colors are nicer. The plastic is higher quality, but both are awesome, and the action on both of them are fantastic. They have those flanges on the kickers that give off a lot of action. Riley's asking, Tyler, do you have any 6th Sense Divine swim jigs in the black light? No, I don't. I just have one in the black and blue right now. I only have a couple of the Divine swim jigs at the moment. I showed you guys this one in the lavender shad, and I've got one in black and blue, and maybe one in a bluegill color. I don't know. Why do you ask, Riley? BJ, nice guy as always. You don't need to always. Okay, yes, you do. That's why we love you, man. Appreciate the good vibes that you're putting out, BJ. And Darlene, thank you so much for being in here tonight. Appreciate you engaging a little bit and saying a little bit throughout the stream. I appreciate you saying it was a good show. I didn't feel like it was a good show because I was all over the place and did not plan it out properly. But it was requested by Riley specifically. Wanted to talk about Topwater, and we've had a couple people asking for the last month or two if we could talk Topwater, and I said, yeah, it's not time yet. But last night I said, sure, yeah, that might be a good thing to talk about. So I thought we'd just kind of shoot the shit and show you some Topwaters and break down those few categories. But you say, I threw the white Rage Toad for 4 days straight down at regionals a couple of years ago at the Winyah Bay. Haven't thrown it since, LOL. Isn't that weird the way that happens, though? I mean, I imagine, especially for tournament fishermen, there are a lot of baits that you get that are specific to bodies of water, right? Specific baits in specific colors. You go down to Florida and all of a sudden you come back with a bunch of freaking speed worms and soft plastic swim baits and and punch baits, but like it's in black and blue and June bug, but it's just kind of the way that it goes, and I'm not totally surprised to hear that. But I bet the white Rage Toad would be killer on a white buzzbait, dude. Why not? And Riley, thank you so much for the hell yeah. Dr. Steve, welcome to the channel, new subscriber. Appreciate you, bro. Really appreciate it. Do I have any spinner baits? Yeah, I have some spinner baits. I actually don't love to throw spinner baits. I've talked about this a number of times before. I am a fan of underspins and ways of kind of simulating the same type of thing as what a spinnerbait does, but in a different profile, in kind of a newer style of presentation. So, no, I have some spinnerbaits, maybe 15 or 20 spinnerbaits, but I don't throw them very often. Matt's fishing mission. Dude, I'm so nervous about trout fishing. Going to Colorado in 2 weeks to fish the Dream Stream and the South Platte River. Total trout noob. Hey, Matt, that is awesome to hear. Good for you, man. You're going to have a blast. The Dream Stream is a pretty sweet place to fish. That's right near where I was supposed to go last week and where I was supposed to go this upcoming Monday in 2 days from now. It was rescheduled for this Monday, and as of today, it just got pushed back again. COVID and water flows have made early early season trout fishing a little bit funny this year, and I shouldn't say early season because it's not, but um, yeah, trout fishing so far this year has been a little bit funky. But you're gonna have a blast coming out, man. I assume you're fly fishing. They're snobs on the Dream Stream. They don't really allow you to throw lures. So like what I did today in throwing, a jerk bait and a Ned rig to catch trout. Um, you really can't do that on the Dream Stream or any gold medal uh, piece of water where you're fishing for trout, where it's catch and release only, fly only, and usually it's barbless hooks only as well. So people are pretty serious about that here in Colorado, and we take care of the fisheries. So you should have a really good time. I wouldn't be so nervous, man. Why are you so nervous? Riley, well, I put 4 divine swim jigs in your package. What are you doing, Riley? No way. Riley, with the sunglasses, you're insane. Oh my gosh. Guys, we are just going to play a lot of hot potato when it comes to baits. Ray, Ray, what are you doing in here, bro? All right, how long have you been in here, man? We've been talking about you. Floating around? Ray, how was the rest of your son's birthday the other day, by the way, though? All right, I think I'm almost caught up. Ray, we have been missing you, bro. Wish you'd do a little bit of commenting, man. Frankie, I have seen the micro chatterbaits. Z-Man makes micro chatterbaits. They make mini chatterbaits, and they make a couple of like quarter-ounce chatterbaits. So yes, the the flashback mini is a tiny little chatterbait. The micro and the mini, I think, are 1/8 and 1/4 ounce, and they're good chatterbaits, man. I mean, I don't have anything against them. Um, I've thrown that flashback mini for panfish, fishing for bluegill and crappie and tiny bass in a couple little ponds around here, and had a lot of success with those. So no, I haven't used them for trout yet, man. Honestly, I grew up here as a fly fisherman, and I still am somewhat of a snob when it comes to fishing for trout. So it's only been in the last year or two that I've considered and opened my eyes to fishing for trout with artificial lures, um, with treble hooks, with things that are going to do more damage to the fish than I would ordinarily do. But uh, but absolutely, I'll definitely think about that moving forward, throwing some micro chatterbaits for trout because I bet they would go after them with the way that they track those jerk baits and eat them. I'm sure they would the chatterbaits too. BJ, Ray's son turned 5 the other day. That's a fact, BJ. Whenever Riley and Ray are not on the stream, it's a little bit different, especially with the way that they were barking at each other about trading gear a couple of weeks ago, and Ray saying, "Hey, really want that lose gear? Hook me up, trade me up, 6 cents for lose." And now, what do you know? They're both speaking each other's language. Riley won't stop talking about 6 cents, Ray won't stop talking about Luz, but gotta love that dynamic. Super fun. Darlene says, overall, which is your go-to for topwater? Great question. Overall, go-to is probably a Whopper Plopper. I am usually on the go, and I like to fish pretty quickly. I'm usually only out for a couple hours at a time, and I like to cover water. So a Whopper Plopper is a very efficient and a very versatile bait that that I just have a tremendous amount of confidence in. So yeah, where I'd maybe like to say a buzzbait or a frog because it would be, old school or cool to say those. Um, it's probably a Whopper Plopper. What about you, Darlene? Oh, really, Frankie? I did not know that those micro chatterbaits were designed for trout. I knew that they were designed for multi-species fishing, but not necessarily for trout. Maybe it's for sea trout because Z-Man is based out of North Carolina, I think. And so when they say trout, they're talking about sea trout on the East Coast. So anyway, Ryan says his birthday's coming up on Wednesday, so let's all give Ryan a happy early birthday, man. Ryan, hope you have a great day on Wednesday, man. If we don't talk to you before then, happy birthday, man. And yes, Ray, it does go by way too fast. I couldn't help but think about that and cherish the moment today of getting my girls out going fishing today and just appreciating the little moments that we've got, because I will probably remember today for years and years, if not forever. So really cool. Hey, Matt, I throw the 110 Whopper Plopper probably the most, just because I can throw that on a medium heavy or a heavy rod. But I really like the 75 size as well. So I've pretty much gotten away from throwing the 90, and I'd be willing to give away one or two of the 90s that I've got. But I hate giving away stuff because I don't like it. That's not the right reason to give something away. But my favorite size is the 110, followed by the 75 for sure. Darlene, what about you? I wanted to know what your favorite is. Yeah, you said go to topwater. What about you? Frankie says I need a 6 cent sack. The crankbaits look amazing. Yeah, they do make good stuff for sure. Their stuff looks amazing. That is for sure. And that's half the point, right? Is to make their stuff look amazing. But their stuff also works amazing, and they've thought everything out quite well. 6 Cents is a really good company, but buying their sacks, are interesting because you kind of leave it up to somebody else to choose for you what you get, bait and color. So I like to shop. I like to hop on that sale page, see if there's one or two baits that I might be interested in, and mix and match. But 6 Cents is definitely worth a look, and I've got a handful of their baits, and am super excited to try more. Oh, golly. I have a feeling I'm going to fall in love with this bait this year. And Ray, this color is actually my favorite. I did not think you were going to send it to me. And I didn't think I was going to like it as much as I did. But, dude, this bait right here Sensory shad. This thing is straight up see-through. Awesome clear watercolor. Tons of flash on that. Really natural, clear with that orange belly. It's like a pro blue color. Absolutely love that. Very, very cool. So, Ray, you're the bomb, dude. Ooh, Ray got his sack in the mail today. Womb liberation dates. You, Ray, with that womb liberation stuff. That's weird that you say that, man. I just missed a lot of comments. What the heck? Y'all are crazy. Popping off over here. Happy early birthday, Ryan. That's what's up. That's what's up. Yeah, man. Hope you have an awesome day, dude. Hope you get to go fishing. Matt, you love the 90 size Whopper Plopper? What? Dude, that is not my deal. Send me an email. I'll send you one. Hook sets are free 18@gmail.com. Darlene says, I have tons of Topwater as we all dump sums of money in debates, but my go-to is a saltwater bomber walking bait. Interesting. I change out the hooks to red on the front and tail feather on the back. Right on. Awesome modifications there on the hooks. Saltwater bomber walking bait. Interesting. I don't know much about that bait or what makes it unique. Darlene, why do you like it? What makes the action or the sound different on that bait compared to other walking baits? Because I don't know that I'm familiar with that bait at all. Riley says, really, Tyler? I also got you a Chapo 90 in the black. Now you're telling me you have too many. What? What you talking about, Willis? Riley? Chapo 90 in the black. I like that. I had that exact bait last year, and I lost it. I threw it, or I got caught. I got it caught on a laydown. But that Chapo 90 in the black, that Maverick color, I really like it. So I don't know what you're talking about. Me saying I have too many. I don't. I'm saying the Whopper Plopper 90, and that's different than the Chapo 90, Riley. Okay? The Whopper Plopper 90, in my opinion, is their worst of the bunch. It's the most finessey. It's the smallest in size and weight. It is quiet, and it's a little bit underwhelming. And it has that old tail connection that grabs grass way too easily. So I'm just saying, of all of the Whopper Ploppers, I think it's the worst. The Chapo actually puts out a different sound that is much more aggressive than the Whopper Plopper. So I actually like the Chapo 90 a lot more than I like the Whopper Plopper 90. But that's just me. Ray, I hear you. It does get hard to choose, so it's kind of nice to just have a sack and have them just be sent to you, right? And Matt, thank you guys. There's 12 people in here. 14 thumbs up. Do me a favor and hit that thumbs up if you haven't already, guys. Really, really appreciate it. the number has fluctuated. 12 people in here chilling right now. I'm not going to hang out much longer because it's already been almost 2 hours, but really appreciate the vibes and everybody enjoying hanging out with one another. And since Ray just showed up not that long ago, I didn't want to hop out the second that he did get here. Excuse me. Frankie says, I need a combo for brackish water. Connecticut River, the stripers come up during the tide times. What do you think? I can't give you a great recommendation on that, man. That is not something that I come into. So I'm not as familiar with that situation. And striper fishing can be a totally different beast. So depending on how big those fish get, you're probably going to want something a bit more stout. And I don't know what to recommend to you, so I'm not going to. BJ, what color do you like and want, man? Because you ain't getting it? Ray, you didn't need to send it, man. All right. Thought I was catching up. Maybe I'm not. Darlene says it's loud and it runs wide. Okay. Bomber Saltwater. I'm going to need to check it out. Steve Moore in the house. It's going pretty good tonight, man. How are you doing? Good to see you in here. Thanks for hanging out for a little bit. Riley just got her order in from 6 cents. She got 10 different jigs and a couple of the Ned fries. Nice. Right on. And yeah, Ray, I got spoiled big time there, but I'm gonna pay you back and some more, so don't worry about it. 15 thumbs up, guys. Right on. Steve Moore says, got to fish for the first time on the boat. Ned Riggs slayed him tonight. Good for you, Steve. Congrats, man. That is rad. I caught a few on the Ned rig today as well, and yeah, they were slurping it. That TRD Ticklers for me was getting it done. And yeah, you guys are right, man. I absolutely love that we're all spoiling each other. It was not ever meant for you to spoil me. You know, if you guys have noticed by now, I do giveaways every month, and I like giving stuff of mine away to you guys. I don't enter giveaways. I'm not trying to get free stuff from anybody, and I'm happy to hook people up and help them in their quest to learn new techniques, try new lures, things like that. So, you know, the whole reason that we started sending each other packages were because I wanted to give stuff to other people, and now it's coming back around, and I think it's really cool the way that works out. Month I switched that over. In fact, I'm slowing. My Instagram page has slowed down its growth because I shoved everybody over here last month, and had the giveaway exclusively here on YouTube. And I'm going to do that this next month as well. Just make it so that that you can only enter and win through YouTube. So give you guys a slightly better chance of winning that giveaway. And yeah, so it's going to be a good one. It's going to be another spawn fishing giveaway. As I mentioned last night, very briefly, it's going to be 3 more presentations. So it's going to be a Savage Gear bluegill swim bait, a 5-inch bluegill swim bait, and a Nico rig setup, a pack of the Z-Man bang sticks with their Nico weights, and a pack of hooks. Discount Tackle did not have the BMC Nico hooks that I like in stock, so I had to get the owner Mosquito Light hooks, but those hooks work great for a Nico rig as well. And then also got a pack of the micro, those Finesse Shrooms micro jigs, and the TRD craws to go with them. So should be a good giveaway for the month of May. Another mostly spawn fishing themed giveaway. But I'll announce that in about a week's time from now, and you'll see that posted here on YouTube. So I'll probably do a video showing you guys the baits, and then I'll also do like a post, if you will. Frankie, if you're still in here, you have a great rest of your night. Thank you for hanging out, though. Lose inshore or Stratic Shimano on your favorite rod. Fair enough. Ray says, Tyler, my phone's not broken, nor is my email. So if I'm MIA for a while, you can always hit me up, you know. Yeah, I do know that. I do know that, and I'm going to hit you up. Ray, you said 2 questions. Okay, I'm watching. I'm listening. What are your questions, bro? Ray says, why do you think I'm giving you all these baits and I wanted to try? Because you were nice and gave me baits, so now it's my turn. See, I'm saying your parents raised you well, Riley, but it doesn't need to be your turn, you know. And I don't want you to feel guilty just because I hooked you up in the first place. You know, it wasn't to get anything in return. So anyway, we're coming from the same place. We have the same intentions, and I think that's what's most important. And I really, really appreciate your generosity and your friendship. You guys are awesome. So really, really fun. Hate to get emotional right now. So Ray, question number 1: have you seen the new Daiwa Skipping Rod Elite? Never had one of their rods, but sound good. Have I seen it? Yes. Have I held it or felt it? Nope. So I have no idea. But those Daiwa Tatula Elite rods are sick. You know, they look really cool, and I know that they're light and sensitive. So I think they're good rods, and I would trust that they're worth it. I only have one Daiwa rod right now, and it's a lower model Tatula. It's their lightweight cranking rod, but so far I absolutely love it. Very lightweight, pretty sensitive, and very well made. So I've only heard really good things about Daiwa. I always felt a little bit mixed about, you know, all of these companies making rods. It's one thing for some companies to specialize in making reels and some to specialize in making rods, but for everybody to make everything starts getting a little sketchy, right? Because you have to kind of assume that materials are made by the same people for the same brands, and then it gets a little confusing. Who can you trust? You know, what is what, really? So that said, I think Daiwa, just like Megabass and a bunch of other brands, are making really good stuff. You know, it's not cheap, but it's quality for sure. So No worries, Ray. I can't give you any real opinion on that skipping rod, but I'm sure you would be happy if you did give it a go. So, um, yeah, consider it. If it's in your budget, I would look at it. Something like that with the Tatula SV reel would be absolutely killer. Darlene, awesome, great grassroots style show tonight. Hit the like button, sub, hit the bell for the next show. Thanks, gotta head to bed 1 a.m. here, hitting the water at 6 a.m. So just a nap for the night. Darlene, that is insane. Thank you so much for hanging out, and thank you for the support, for subscribing, and for contributing to the chat. People are going to like having you in here. Good luck on the water tomorrow. Tight lines. And cheers. We'll see you next time. Good luck to you. Riley says, Tyler, I'll send you pics of the 4 customs that I sent out. And if you're wondering, I get my customs at Bacon's Baits and Tackle, but the high school anglers get the good shit. Bacon's Bait and Tackle. Interesting. Is that the name of the bait maker or the tackle shop? Bacon's Bait and Tackle. Sounds like a tackle shop. Guys, my back is, feeling pretty stiff, pretty tight. Riley asked me literally the minute I started streaming 2 hours ago how my back was doing, and I said it's doing pretty good, but I think I'm only going to be on here for a short time tonight, and here we've been on for 2 hours, and my back is starting to act up, so probably not going to stay on much longer, just because I have no back support with all of the tackle right behind me. So Riley, that's a tackle shop. I've never heard of it, but that's awesome and good to hear that that's where you get it. I might check them out sometime. I wonder, do you know if they've got an online presence at all? Like, do they sell their stuff online? Bacon's Bait and Tackle? Looks like I can find them on Facebook, but I don't know that they really have much of an actual website. Anyway, pretty cool that you get the hookup and extra special stuff. Any other baits you want to try? I don't know, Riley. I mean, that would be an awesome thing to explore and talk about another time. I have no freaking clue. But yeah, that's really cool that it's been in business for so long. I love seeing places like that that support the local economy, and that it's clear that stand the test of time, that there's enough of a market there, and that they're doing the right things, that people want to keep them in business. All right, Ray's second question. Hooks. I only use EWGs. I run out of 3/0 and 4/0 a lot. I like Owner for salt, but as for bass, I've been using Gammas for price. Yep. Is best place to buy? Question is best place to buy per price and quantity and brand. Okay. I think I know what you're asking. And you're saying straight up you only use EWGs, but you run through a lot of 3/0 and 4/0 hooks. So you're a fan of Owner. I stick to Owner, Gamakatsu, and Trokar. Some people feel mixed about Trokar, just because those, the points are so damn sharp. They cut almost too easily, but I think Gamakatsu is probably your best bet for bulk packs. I think you can get the Gamakatsu EWG hooks in a 25 pack, if I'm not mistaken. Ron Holly, what's with the emojis, bro? You know what hooks might be worth a look, Ray, are the Berkeley Fusion 19 hooks. I think you get one or two extra. Yeah, you say trocars tear the heck out of the bass's mouth. I've had mixed results with that, but yeah, and some people would say that for sure. So that's why I say there's kind of mixed opinions when it comes to trocar. Ananiah, what's up, bro? No problem, BJ. Thank you very much. So, like I was saying, Ray, I'm pretty sure you can get the Gamakatsu EWGs for you can get them in 25 packs. Do you throw the super line ever, or are you mostly just throwing that standard offset EWG? Because I do like that super line hook, and you can get it in 5-pack for $5, or a 25 pack for $18. It looks like. So not super cheap. Okay, so the regular ones are a little bit cheaper, but not by much. $17 for a 25 pack. No, I honestly don't buy hooks in bulk packs, so I can't quite give you the right answer on that one. But let me look up these Fusion 19 hooks because I thought they're just a little bit cheaper, and I could be wrong on that. You get 7 to a pack, 6 to a pack for $4.49. Or maybe they're not sold in bulk here on Tackle Warehouse. So, Ray, I'm sorry, dude. I wish I could tell you. I don't know that I've got a great suggestion on bulk. You run out of 3/0 and 4/0 a lot, huh? FFL says favorite Guggen bait. Bandito bug. Ananiah says, anyone ever use a pistol grip lightning rod? No, but my dad's old rod from the 80s is a pistol grip for sure. But no, I assume you're talking about the Berkeley lightning rod. Pistol grip, huh? Going old school with it. Ray says standard, as light as possible, since I never use braid on a bait caster. Okay, you never use braid on a bait caster. That's weird, Ray. But okay. So yeah, just that standard Gamakatsu, EWG is probably your best bet. You can get it in a 25 pack for I think $15.99. So save a little bit of money there. It'd be like buying three or four packs and getting 1 or 2 free. So not a bad way to go. Might be worth looking into. Is that 25 pack? Riley says I caught 4 fish on the black and blue jackhammer chatterbait with the black and blue 375 Rage Swimmer. Thanks for hooking me up. You were right. Chatterbaits are the shit. Yoo-hoo! That's what's up, Riley. Yeah. Now, what about that rage swimmer, Riley? Are you rigging that regular, or are you rigging it upside down, or are you cutting the tail off? Because you know it runs a little bit different with a paddle tail swim bait rigged as the trailer on the back of it. Ron, what you adding, man? Just adding something. Oh, with the emojis? Well, I can't always assume, or I can't understand what you're meaning by these faces, ma'am. I would probably prefer words. Ray says, Ryan, I like the VMC. Not sure though. Yeah, VMC, I feel on the mix about too. Or I feel on the fence about. I feel mixed about. Some of their hooks are really good, and some seem to be kind of meh. Adonai says, I bought it on sale last year and need a rod. Needed a rod for this nice lose reel that my buddy got for me off Marketplace. Well, right on. Good luck with that that pistol grip, man. It's gonna make it a little bit funky to retrieve the bait. It'll make casting a little bit easier. You'll be able to put that bait into tight places, but then holding on to the bait, holding onto the rod and retrieving your lure is going to feel a little bit funky, at least at first, until you get used to it. You say I love a chatterbait and with a craw on it. Yeah, I do too, Adonai, for sure. Ray, you got hooks mixed up. Have some that bend that seems too tight. Shank part makes them tear up baits or not fit right. What? Some have a bend that seems too tight, makes them tear up baits or not fit right. Yeah, that's why I don't like to fiddle around with a lot of different companies, Ray. I mean, I really am pretty disciplined with staying with just like those three hook manufacturers, Gamakatsu, Owner, and Trokar are like the only ones that I'm throwing. And honestly, 6 Sense is making hooks now. Those look pretty decent. Like everybody makes their own hooks now, just like everybody makes their own braid and everybody makes their own bait casters and rods and anything you want. But there are companies out there who do nothing but make hooks, and those are good companies to buy hooks from. And Owner and Gamakatsu are very, very trustworthy companies. So, and they think a lot of that stuff out. So the bend, the amount of gap that you've got in an EWG hook is important. So maybe it's just the brand of hook that you've got, man. Riley says, I cut a little bit off of the top and then I rigged it normal and steady retrieved it. Interesting. You probably didn't even need to cut a little bit off if it's just a 375. But you didn't mess with the tail, huh? Interesting. Riley, love that you say that. A couple weeks ago, you didn't know any better. And now you love that chatterbait. Adonai says, I got some tubes I want to try. Right on. Yeah, tubes are a good bait for sure, especially around rocks. They're fishing for smallmouth bass in particular, but tubes are a great crayfish imitator and just bottom crustacean, small bait fish. Tubes are a very underrated soft plastic bait for sure. Ray says the only owners I've been finding are these extra deep gap. I don't know how I feel about that. Never tried them, but yeah, I don't know about those hooks either. The extra deep gap, And yeah, Ryan, you do get totally different actions out of a chatterbait by putting a different trailer on it. And so maybe that's what Adonaiah was saying when he says he likes a craw on the back of a chatterbait. You get a much more aggressive action, swimming action out of a craw trailer on a chatterbait. And I really like that too. You get a tight fishy action out of a bait fish type of profile or a tailless swim bait. You get a good shad imitator. But really cool to see what you can do with the chatterbait by playing around with the trailers. Ron says, anyone using Spike It? Just got some, made some killer lures. Yeah, really only use Spike It in the markers. I've got black and chartreuse here. I did just order one in the orange, and there might be one coming in chartreuse as well in that same pack. So if I end up with an extra chartreuse, I might give one away soon. But Spike It is a pretty cool deal. It's messy, right? Just like JJ's Magic, you have to be very careful in when you use it, right? That you're not spilling anywhere, because it will stain and stink things up for sure. But yeah, Ron, using the regular Spike It dip, the chartreuse is baller. But usually I would not make some lures at home. I would bring the Spike It out on the water, and I would have it stored like in a Ziploc bag, just in case it leaks. And then I would pull it out right before you're going to fish the bait, dip it and drop it in the water, and put your Spike It away, and then fish that bait. I would not make the baits ahead of time and then give it time for that dye and that scent to fade away. Just my opinion, though, Ron. Guys, I'm going to have to dip out of here. My back is killing me. Interesting, Adonaiah, going with that super slow retrieve on the chatterbait with the craw, huh? Let it sink and then reel it just enough to chatter, then let it fall again. For sure. No, that's a good retrieve. You see the craw with the clamped fins stands up like a defensive craw. Absolutely. That's not a bad retrieve. Looks like you're heading out of here, Adonaiah. Thanks for hanging out for a bit. Good to have you in here. Appreciate your support, and hopefully we see you again in a future video, man. And yeah, Ryan, Ray is the Sixth Sense King. George N. Appreciate the comment there. It's on and off, man. It'll be fine. Ray says, Ryan, don't say that too loud. A lot of YouTubers buying thousands of dollars worth of products at a time to get their channel growing. They'd get mad at you, LOL. I don't think half of them even fish. Thousands of dollars worth of products at a time to get their channel growing. I don't know what you're talking about there. Thank you, Riley. Really appreciate you. BJ, no problem. This is an awesome family that we have going here, guys. Yeah, Ron, I really like this black color, especially to just change the color of a tail on a bait, or to put a shad dot, or some stripes to make more of a perch pattern, something like that. No, you don't, Ray. Yeah, maybe you do, but I'm gonna crack one more beer, and I might take a little secret something, feel a little bit better. But yeah, I am gonna to peace out of here. try and get some sleep. And to all of you going fishing tomorrow, good luck to you. Next week I will be on, I think, Wednesday and Thursday night, just so you know. And who are you talking about, Ray? We'll talk about this next time for sure. But I'd love to know who you're talking about that is just buying a shite ton of bait. I mean, I like half fall into that category, right? I have way too many baits for what I will actually use, but I'm an experimenter, and you guys know that I fish, but but I'd be curious to know who you're talking about for sure. Yeah, Adenaya, CBD for the back for sure. No problem, BJ. Absolutely. I'm glad I had the opportunity to go out on the water with my daughters today as well. Bring home a couple trout, try some trout nuggets. Um, and I think it's so cool that my daughters are not like grossed out or anything by that. I was more grossed out because I had never actually gutted or filleted a trout before. I'm 32 years old and grew up uh, catching trout all the time, but catch and release 98% of the time, and then just never taking advantage of the opportunity, the resources, by buying a fishing license to go to some of these bodies of water that stock trout and go and catch and keep some of them, since most of them, they've got such a high mortality rate. They're either going to die or they're going to get eaten uh, one way or another. So they're being put there to grow the fish population of the predator fish in the water, and for us fishermen to keep. And I love that. So yeah, Riley, send me that killer trout recipe by email. Please do that. BJ, have a great night. Sleep well. See you guys on the next stream. I will see you probably next Wednesday night. If you have any suggestions on what you'd like the stream to be about, let me know. I will save my discount tackle package for you guys, and we will open it then. Okay? See you guys in a few days. Ray says, really wanted to try a trout while camping next to the stream while I was fishing. Bucket list for me. Absolutely. That would be super fun, man. All right, guys. Really fun. Thanks for hanging out. Have a great rest of your night, and I will see you soon. Cheers, everybody.